Are we getting the Switch 3 next year? So it's no secret to anyone that the Nintendo Switch 2 is a complete flop. It is not selling many copies. It has no exclusives. It is completely underpowered. And Nintendo probably knows about this. That's why they're cutting production of the Switch 2. And with rumors of the PS6 coming out next year, I think it's time Nintendo finally makes a console that can compete with Xbox and PlayStation. And the Switch 3 is the only way they're going to do that, and I think it is very likely that it is going to come out next year. So the Switch 2 has only sold 17 million copies, and it has been out for, 9 months at this point, almost 10 months at this point, and there's no games on it. Like, Nintendo, which is the gaming company known for exclusives, has like 3 good exclusive games on it, if even. There's maybe like Donkey Kong Bonanza, not a single other one. And if you look at what PlayStation is doing, what Xbox is doing, they have a ton of exclusives. And even besides exclusives, the Switch 2 not selling well and being underpowered, like, how are people going to still buy this when the next PlayStation and the next Xbox come out? Nintendo knows this, and I bet they're working on the Switch 3 right now. So what is that going to be? Picture like a Switch 2 screen, but bigger. And then to make it more powerful, to make it compete with the next gen consoles, instead of just being this one small device that can play the games, it's going to be a screen like the size of the Switch 2, but it's going to be 4K 120 hertz, and there's going to be like a GameCube looking thing that you plug into it. It's going to have a handle so it can be portable, and there's going to be a huge power bank that you could use on it. So if you want to play it on the go, you can, but it's going to make it actually compete with PlayStation and Xbox while still having that portability. And then of course you will be able to plug it into the TV. And I think the fact that we haven't gotten any games on the Switch 2 recently, and we know no games coming out on the Switch 2, that kind of shows that Nintendo is already moving on to the Switch 3. Like, the next 3D Mario is coming out in 2027, and it's because they don't want to release it on a system that no one buys. They're going to make it on the Switch 3. But with this, Nintendo is actually going to have to make exclusives. Like, the Switch 1, not my favorite console, but it had some exclusives, even though like 90% were remakes and remasters. The Wii U was the real system that actually had exclusive games, and that was the last time Nintendo did that. So not only that, but third-party support. Like, games that run on the Switch 2 that are on other consoles just don't look good. Like, compare like Resident Evil Requiem. It looks awful. It looks like a PS3 game. I don't even know why Capcom bothered making it on the Switch 2 when no one bought a Switch 2, and no one who plays Resident Evil is going to be playing that on the Switch 2. Like, the only game I've really played that much of on my Switch 2 has been Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's a very well-made game that doesn't feel formulaic at all. It's a breath of fresh air for the industry, and Nintendo's not doing any of that. Nintendo has made no new games that actually are of interest. Donkey Kong Bonanza is just a Switch 1 game that they ported to the Switch 2 probably halfway through development to get people to buy the system. Pokemon Pokopia is just Dragon Quest Builders, just reskinned with Pokemon. But Mario Kart World, on the other hand, you know what, I'll give them credit. That's a decent game. I think $80 was too cheap for it, though. I think it's more a $100 game, if I'm being honest. So I'm thankful that Nintendo wanted to make this just $80. Really, the only other games I can remember even buying on the Switch 2 have been Switch 2 editions, which I think are some of the most necessary games ever made. Like, I wouldn't have played Animal Crossing New Horizons again if they didn't make a Switch 2 edition. Like, I need the high resolution for it since it looks so bad on Switch. For Mario Party Jamboree, it's a game I haven't played since it came out, but now having the new Face Raiders mode, whatever it's called, like, that changed Mario Party forever. It makes it the best Mario Party game. And it doesn't matter that these games are multiple years old and now being charged for $80, because Nintendo should never raise their prices. Now, this is all the positives with the Switch 2, the Switch 2 editions and the pricing, but everything else has just been awful about it. Like, I had to really think about anything good to say about it, and I think this is probably the worst Nintendo console ever. Probably the biggest flop ever. Maybe the Wii U was a slightly bigger flop. And listen, I like Nintendo, but the only advice I can give to them is that they really need to work on the Switch 3, like, ASAP. Which I'm sure they are. Like, they probably are doing exactly what I'm saying. And I'm looking forward to what the Switch 3 can be, because if it's anything like what I said, I think it could be the best console of all time. Now, moving on to our next topic of discussion, what about DLSS? Games look far better with this, and the Switch 2 just cannot support it. However, the Switch 3 probably will, and if Nintendo just doesn't adopt this soon, I don't know why anyone would buy their system, because the Switch 2 is already underpowered, but now compared to the next generation of consoles, it's going to be even worse. Instead of just having the Switch 2 as its own thing that's meant to play AAA games or home console quality games on the go, while not looking quite as sharp, while maybe not having the same performance as full-on home consoles, I like to compare the Switch 2 to the PS5 because it still deserves to be compared to it. It's still a console, and it came out 5 years after. At that point, even if they're going for the portability aspect, should it not be as powerful as the PS5? Like, is it not a little bit ridiculous? Like, it's something that's kept me from buying any Switch games. Like, I decided to get the Portal instead to really play games on the go if I want to, because that just looks better. The only complaint I have about it is that when I try to take it out of the house and I don't have Wi-Fi, it doesn't seem to work, but that doesn't really matter. It's still better than the Switch 2. So are we getting the Switch 3 next year? I think so. I honestly think so. I think I went over plenty of the reasons why the Switch 2 has just not met expectations, all the issues with it. And of course, this is an April Fool's joke. I really hope no one took this video seriously. I want to give the opposite of some of my thoughts, whether it was being pro-Nintendo with like the pricing decisions I haven't agreed with, or anti-Nintendo. When I think the Switch 2 is a very good console. Obviously, we're not getting a Switch 3 anytime soon. And I want to exaggerate some things that I've seen on it. I think there are some concerns with the power when like the PS6 does come out, because I don't know how the Switch 2 can really compete with those in terms of power. But at the same time, if you're buying a Switch 2, you're probably buying it for mostly Nintendo games. You're buying it for games you know are not going to look as good on the PS5. I made a video talking about this, that the Switch 2 holds up pretty well compared to the PS5, but again, it's a portable console. It is not meant to give you 60 frames 4K on every game. And with the way that this past generation went, where we were basically getting all major games coming out on previous gen until like 2 years ago, I think it'll be fine for a few years. Like the Switch, like towards the end, definitely like was not really getting much third-party support, but I think we have a good few years left on the Switch 2 of it getting third-party support. And when people say that the Switch 2 is a just complete flop, that's obviously not true. Like, it has had some hiccups along the road. I mean, most consoles do, but it's been very successful so far. And if they do raise the price, then maybe it'll start to falter a little more. But again, that's speculation. And I did want to go like a little opposite in this video, talking about the Switch 2 game prices, because that's my biggest criticism, has been some of the pricing and the game key cards. I don't think there's any Switch 2 games that are worth $80 personally. I think that Switch 2 editions being priced what they are is just not justified, so that's why there was the switch up there. This video was just made for fun, like just to get an April Fool's video out, to just have something that I hope that not too many people would take seriously. Kind of make just some straw mans on some views. But if you do want to see some of my serious videos, like my serious discussions on Nintendo, be sure to subscribe, and happy April Fools.